I get to welcome back Julie from Oatly. Give her a round of applause. Ida Lee from Tony's Chocolonely. Lonely. And Andrea Chu of Vital Farms. Round of applause. So this is our final conversation to close out the day. I've really enjoyed this afternoon. I personally have learned so much, so I hope all of you have too. This is, right before the reception, which you have to stay for, I insist, because there's lots of great food and drinks, and you'll be able to continue some of these conversations. So we've heard so many amazing points throughout the day about, honesty, about traceability and transparency, about vulnerability, which we started with, which I think is so important, and this idea of more collaboration and different kinds of collaboration, and digging into things that might make you uncomfortable, like public policy or other things. And so I'm hoping all of you can reflect on what you've heard throughout the day, and really, what comes next? What are we going to do with all that we've learned today? So maybe Andrea, I can turn to you first.
Well, thank you for everyone staying and for actually stickering. I really am excited to read all of these and then pull them together, and we'll find people's emails because there are so many things on there. I think Newman's Own wrote about collaborating on policy and getting grant funding. That's something I'm super passionate about. And just I don't want this to be just and we're gone. I have been so inspired, and it has been so helpful in just my daily work life to be able to point to each of your brands and be like, look at that Regen Ag program Oatly's developing. Look at this really cool research partnership that King Arthur Baking is doing. And I really want to take it a step beyond just using y'all as examples and be able to actually do stuff collectively together.
Activation, that's where it's at, right? Janice, final reflections from today?
Yeah, I also want to make sure that I actually talk to somebody after this is over who I just met today, which is it doesn't happen that much.
No.
It really doesn't. We have a good time, we might have a drink, and then months will go by and I'll be like, oh man, I should really call Andrea. So I really want to emphasize taking that risk of actually calling someone within the next couple weeks. And the other thing that I've been thinking about with this theme of collaboration and all of these, we have small brands in here, we have big brands in here, and that our willingness to push the envelope and try new things and make mistakes and celebrate them is so key. And we do annually a big mistake contest at King Arthur, and we give out cash prizes. So $300, $200, and $100. And you have to talk about your mistake for the last 12 months, and what you're learning from that mistake is that you're going to carry forward.
I love that.
And it's super fun, and we have mics, and it's great. But the theme that resonates every year is that the biggest mistake that happens is that people say they were working in isolation. They made decisions in the clutch, trying to solve something, try to go after a cost-saving measure, not talking to other people. And that isolation is what actually caused the mistake.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to share that because that's what we're at risk of doing by leaving today and not agreeing to call each other. That we go back to the familiarity and we don't push ourselves into discomfort of reaching across and calling someone and staying isolated.
Love it. Thank you for that. That was awesome. Ida Lee? Yeah, round of applause.
So I want to start by saying, Julie, thank you for taking us on your dream and for bringing us together and making this happen. You really saw the vision before we did. So thank you for that. The team effort. I hope we can do more of these. We are very flattered to be sitting here amongst these brands. So I really hope we can do more of these. I think one thing that we all sell here, and Barry always tells us this, is credibility. We have credibility that we've broken the mold and the norm for how business should be done. And we did it our own way, and we have success stories to show for it. So let's not forget that we sell credibility. So whenever we show up somewhere, make sure that we keep that in mind. And the other thing is just let's, like you guys said, let's continue these conversations. I know there's a lot to be gained from all of us joining forces. So let's continue these conversations no matter on what aspect it is, even if it's like a recipe we can do together. Like we bring the chocolate, you bring the flour. So even on those levels, just showing up with like-minded brand, because consumers at the end of the day, they buy their values. We strongly believe, so let's keep working together.
Beautiful. Give her a round of applause, please. Julie, over to you.
I mean, the humanity in this room is just like overwhelming me right now. It feels like at some stage, like sometimes it feels like so complicated what we're trying to get done. And then you have conversations with people who are already sort of sharing your mindset. And suddenly it feels so much more attainable that you can do the things that you want to do. So thank you for all of that. It was a super fun day. I have a couple of reflections, and the first one is that I hope that I'm the person that Janice calls, because I'd really love to talk more about, we would love to do what you just described. I'm saying this on the fly, this was not planned. What you have done with Bread Lab and sort of doing the breeding and making that available and looking at taste and looking at nutrition, that is what we would like to do for oats. So I have no idea if Bread Lab would be like interested in getting into oats. I'm trying to make contact with Robin, eye contact, can't see him. But I would really, in all sincerity, I would really love to just talk about how you built that partnership and whether we can model after that. That would be a very concrete thing that we would be passionate about doing. So that is one follow-up that will be concrete. I did want to mention that the organizing companies for this event have talked about coming out potentially with a shared opinion piece, getting back to sort of the policy realm and the advocacy realm. I think we have a provisional sort of nodding of heads that we want to maybe come out, with an op-ed that just sort of says like, hey, without naming names, obviously it was Chatham House rules, but we got together, this is why, this is what we talked about, and this is what we need. So I do think you can look in the coming months for like a concrete thing that might come out of this that will hopefully represent the collective of everybody and not just our voices, but we'll take the lead on that. And then, I guess the last thing I would say, and Danny, I'm going to look back at you on this, is, A, I think we should do this again at next year's Climate Week. But B, I'm wondering if there's any kind of sort of virtual community of practice, like way of keeping this going. Of course we have the CSO group that's a much bigger tent within Food Tank, but perhaps there is a way to do a mission-driven version of that that's maybe not as intense, but to keep the collaborations going and make sure that everybody knows how to reach people and how we're following up. So if there's appetite for that, we'll follow up obviously after this.
I'll have to ask Bernie.
Feel like, he's smiling at me, so I'm like hoping maybe that's an idea. But those are the concrete things that are coming to me that we can do. Like, I feel very like we can do those things. Those don't feel insurmountable right now.
Yeah, and I love that you want to do this again. Food Tank does not like one-offs. We like continued relationships and collaborations. And so I can't thank you. I can't thank this group enough. Give these women a round of applause, please. This has been an incredibly interesting process and a learning experience around collaboration and just, world-changing stuff that I'm so excited about. So I just want to personally thank all of you because this has meant a lot to me to be in your space, right? I'm not a business person. I'm just a little nonprofit girl, and so it's so exciting to learn from all of you. So I want to thank all of you again, and all of you in this room. Please give yourselves a round of applause. What a great group of folks.